It's the Gifted Gamer podcast once again, and this time we're talking what we want to see remade and remastered. Let's get into it. It's me, your host, Darren Wade, and this time, for our talk of all things remakes and remasters, I'm joined by Colm Nolan. Colm.
Thank you, Darren. Wonderful to be here.
Good to have you. And of course, the console-hating, PC-playing, full-time Canadian, Chris Robbins himself. How you keeping, Chris?
I'm doing all right, man.
Good.
How are you?
Good. I'm fine. Yeah, I'm not too bad at all. I'm not too bad. I have recently delved in, and it's a massive mistake because I am in hook, line, and sinker, Stardew Valley.
Ooh, I'm also there.
Yeah.
Oof, that is some time-consuming, stops me from doing my actual job kind of game.
Whenever somebody tells me they dove back into Stardew, I kind of assume that like life is a bit too stressful for them because I find that game like super therapeutic. The whole world melts away.
Yeah,
And like starting a new farm is like so refreshing. Like if you just jumped in like 2 years in, you'd be like, no.
It's just too overwhelming. You have no idea what crops you have on the go. And,
yeah. And it's quite satisfying, like musically. One of my favorite things to do is, and I don't know, like, I mean, I'm a big fan of like going to bed and it's lashing raining out, it's raining outside and it's kind of windy and you're like, oh, I'm all cozy in bed. One of my favorite things to do is to go out fishing when there's like a thunderstorm or something happening in Stardew, because sometimes you get the frog noises and the sound of the rain, and you're just there fishing. You're just waiting for something to hook it. You're gonna pull in. You're like, yep, that's a nighttime carp for me. But yeah, I'm in. What are you guys playing at the minute?
Still got a lot of DBD on the go, and I've also recently started playing a game called Faith: The Unholy Trinity, which is this like psychological horror puzzle game, but graphically it is an homage to the old DOS games, and like even the audio is just the bleeps and bloops and the static. Yeah. And it actually lends so well into a horror game that like just static or.
And for those who don't know, what are DOS games?
DOS games are like before Windows, the old like really pixelated kind of bright colors. They only had like 16 colors to choose from.
See, I asked that as if I was doing it for the benefit of our listeners, but I had no fucking idea what
We're talking
for
like,
the benefit of me.
It's kind of like old school Galaga and like
cool.
Asteroids and stuff like that, or even Pac-Man, I guess.
So you're on a bit of a horror buzz then at the minute.
Yeah, actually, and now that I'm thinking about the games I'm going to talk about today, they're definitely a horror buzz, and I think it's the Steam algorithm because I've been playing so much DBD that they're just feeding me all these.
Chris likes to be scared in his spare time.
Apparently.
What about you, Colm?
Like you, Darren, I've gone for the more wholesome approach with some Stardew Valley.
Nice.
Nicely enough, I've kind of done my own profile, but I've recently gotten Tori involved in it as well. So in my spare time, I'm doing a little bit of co-op Stardew Valley.
Very good.
Which is very challenging because you can't pause the menu. Although I might have found like a little nugget of like wonderfulness. Like apparently, if we both pause the menu, it pauses.
So because I remember you and me had a great time playing that game years ago when the PlayStation update. I don't know if we mentioned this to you before, Chris.
Yeah, I've heard this. Yeah.
Oh my God, like waiting to play that game because we were like, oh, the guys on the Switch can play well before you and me were in the PlayStation. And I remember being on Twitter and seeing that Concerned Ape was like, hey, we're doing our best, but we're pushing the update for online play on the PlayStation. It should be released tonight. So I was like, hey, I'll go up to Columns and we'll play. And for whatever reason, it just wasn't there. The update wasn't there. We played till about like 2 or 3 a.m. Yep. And I was like, Colum, I'm going to call it quits and head home. And the moment I closed out of the game, it immediately started a download for an update. And you and me just gave it a look for each other across. And like we're playing separate farms for like 6 hours. We just gave each other a look across the room being like, You want to start a new farm on the update? Like, yeah, I want to start a new farm on the update.
You're goddamn right. I do.
Like going to bed when the birds are singing, I'm like, oh, that was a terrible mistake. But yeah, no, Stardew's really chill. One of the other things, actually, a friend of ours, Daniel, recommended that I should really try to play Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh yeah.
Because it was really cheap. I think it cost me like $4 or $5 there in a sale ages ago. And I was like, you know what? I'll bop that on and give it a shot.
I thought you played that at release, no?
No, I never touched it. I was going to because I was kind of like, that looks exciting, but then lots of stuff came out that it was really, really buggy and it was kind of not working as it should. And I'd been bitten by like before that Mass Effect Andromeda, and I was like, I ain't touching that. But I played it and I've not seen anything about it, never watched any cutscenes or that. And it's a really exciting opening. I don't know if any of you guys have played.
I've seen the opening though.
Played the intro, yeah. I didn't really get too far. Just the first kind of temple. That's
the first temple is what I've just saved just at the first temple. But I was doing that opening thing, being like, man, it annoys me like when I see the Star Wars movies and stuff like that, and they're talking about doing film number 10 and trying to get the actress that played Rey in to do that again. I'm like, leave that shit alone.
Yeah.
We're over it. I'm looking at like, this guy, whatever his name is. What's his name? Christian, I don't know, like the guy you play as in this game, I don't even know his name, but I'm like, this is an exciting story in an exciting like different part of the universe that I've never seen. Like they're just at the beginning of the game, like they're scrapping old rebel starships and like this stuff's dope, like and you go around helping one of your buddies just like break down or like fix up some stuff in the scrapyard. I'm like, yes, this is just different and new. I'm into this.
And you save some guy who's falling. He falls and he has to catch him with the force. Like this is in the first like few minutes.
Yeah.
And does he ratchet out? I can't remember.
No. He tries to kind of buy you time. Like the Empire arrives, knowing that there's a Jedi in your midst, and he's trying to like. I guess he's trying to like rile people up. He steps out of the line of kind of like workers because they're like, oh, we want the Jedi to step forward or you're all dead. And your pal who you saved kind of steps forward and tries to rev everybody up to fight against the Empire, but then he just gets lightsabered, and then you just take out your lightsaber, and then shit hits the fan. But no, it's I heard loads of bad things. Well, not bad things about the game, just that it was very broken at the start. And in fairness, even when I was running through, there were times where people just disappeared from my screen, like NPCs and stuff. And I was like, okay, so it still has the bugs. But yeah, I was totally into that, and I think I might actually
get back into it.
Yeah, like actually give it
out soon, so that might be fun reason.
Because I think that's what kind of convinced me to go and give it a shot, because there's a new one coming out, and I saw someone put up a menu about like the customization, like how much you can customize your main character, and I was like, yeah, because it's got that kind of why can't I think of the old Republic?
Knights of the Old Republic.
Knights of the Old Republic, like customizing your character or whatever else. It has that kind of old feel to it, and I was like, oh, that could be cool.
In the first one, it's like all ponchos. Like,
yes,
I don't care about ponchos.
Yeah. I think this one you can change your hairstyle, clothes, the lightsaber. Like it looks
lightsaber
like
color, lightsaber style.
Yeah,
it
looks like
dual
it's
blade or the.
Yeah, that'd be so exciting. I'd be right into that. But enough about an old Star Wars game, fellas. Let's get into what we want to see remade or remastered. That's what we're here to talk about today. Kind of old games that we played to say, hey, they're remaking and remastering a lot of shit right now, but what haven't they done yet? Colin, I'm going to start with you. We were talking before the show, and you said you've got quite an itinerary of games from certain consoles that you'd like to see remade. So, like, where do you want to kick off? What's giving you an itch to have remade?
Well, Darren, the scratch that I'd like to get to is, I think I'm going to pull out the SNES card, the Super Nintendo Entertainment System.
Nice.
So a little Nintendo focus here. I think right before the show we briefly discussed kind of their name, so I know I'm not the only one who wants to talk about some SNES games. But one of the ones I actually played very recently was Super Mario RPG. So Super Mario RPG, very, very fun game, only on the SNES. Would love to see it remade. I think you might have been able to get a port of it on the Wii U, but again, it's just one of those games that when you play it, it's just so fun. So like such an endearing game compared to all the other Marios that have come before and since.
And I love the battle mechanics where it was a bit more of an engaging turn-based, because you could do like the jump over and over, and mash the button to shoot more fireballs. It was
like in Final Fantasy VIII, if you attack someone with the gun blade and you hit the trigger at the right time, you get the critical hit. So like every character has their own little critical hit if you get the timing right. So, like it's for such an old game, like it really held up in my recent playthrough. I haven't finished it, but...
And for those who don't know, it's a mix of Nintendo and Square Enix, right? Or Squaresoft back in the day.
I would say at the time, so very fun. You get to play as like Bowser, Peach, like all the kind
Mallow. I love Mallow.
But yeah, they made up some new characters like Mallow and Gino.
And Gino was that one who was people thought was a shoo-in for... Smash Brothers.
Smash, yeah. He's there as a Mii character, or I think he
made it in as a Mii, maybe, yeah.
But yeah, no, very, very fun game. Very funny kind of humor. Like it's definitely like a Mario game, but just the combat is different. There's an RPG element where you equip them and like kind of get levels up and all.
I think the closest they ever got to that there afterwards, like excluding the Squaresoft, because that was never going to happen again. Oh, who knows? Maybe it will.
Yeah.
But was the Paper Mario games?
Paper Mario, I'm pretty sure was meant to
be the
continue
successor.
on that.
Yeah.
They just
they were great as well. The first and second one, I just vividly remember playing in the Coliseum, and maybe the second one it might have been, but it was just so fun.
The humor for them is great. It's just a little bit of a fun old
and little tricks of the game, like you just turn to your side and then you're in 2D, like you could just like turn invisible and go between little cracks or down little alleys and stuff.
Yeah, I think, because I've never played through that fully. I think I touched upon it at the start. I think I had a ROM, and I think I had an emulator or something like that on my laptop for a while and played the start of it because everyone was talking about Gino being in Smash Brothers, and I was like, I've never heard of this character, and was just quite intrigued of like an older Nintendo Squaresoft mashup, because it reminded me of the days where like the Super Nintendo Entertainment System was meant to be done with Sony. And then they split, and that's how we got the PlayStation 1. And I was like, there was a time where they were best mates, Squaresoft and Nintendo, and I'd love to see that again.
I remember in Super Mario RPG, there was one secret boss in particular that looked like he was ripped right out of a Final Fantasy. His name was Kulix. Do you remember? You fought him in
a
Monster Town
or something? Yeah,
Monster Town. And he had to, like, these crystals around him that you had to destroy because, Final Fantasy, there's always crystals.
Yeah. They never want to move away from that. Yeah. That's been like for 16 iterations. That's been their jam,
Absolutely. But yeah, now look, if they remade that, and I don't think they will, because the licensing would just be an absolute nightmare. So.
And especially after so many years. So my question to you then in this iteration, and I'll ask this for kind of every game that we put to the table, would you like to see it remade like from the ground up, or would you like to see the exact game just remastered? So like it's playable and it just looks great.
It's very fun, but I think it could do with maybe like a little touch up here and there. Like gameplay mechanics are fun, but then like there's maybe parts of the game that don't feel overly satisfying, that they could maybe like improve with some, little additions and stuff like that. So kind of like if they did a remaster, I guess I'd be okay with it. And if they added a little extra content just to fill out the game. Yeah. But I think it could do with a whole remake. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. A remake
they could
of that.
Get on board, and they can change stuff around, of course, as well. Like I just like the idea of a Mario RPG game.
Yeah. Which kind of really, Paper Mario and stuff has done it since, but a modern day one would be quite interesting. Chris, moving on to you. You got anything you'd really like to see remade or remastered in today's technology?
Yeah, I got a few. One big one in particular, but another few that I didn't want to talk about too much because one is actually happening now and some of the others are inevitable. And the one that is actually happening now I've wanted for ages, and I can't believe they even like skipped the first one, which I'm glad they did, but Silent Hill 2.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I am so excited. Let's see. I told you we're taking it back to the horror.
I was about to say
you're on a bit of a kick.
You're on such a vibe at the minute.
Yeah. So I really want to see that done. I'm glad it's happening, and I think the reason it's happening is because of the recent success of some of the best remakes I've played, which is what's happening to the Resident Evil series.
4 just came out as well. 4, and is very good.
2 was incredible. It was better than the original, which I didn't think was possible in my opinion. So another game I want to see, and I think is probably inevitable, is Resident Evil 1. Just go back. Let's remake that one too. Yeah. They haven't really talked about it yet, but based on the success of all the other games, I'm sure they will.
I think the Resident Evil fans would be very disappointed in me, but 4, I'm excited to play it. I have it downloaded and ready to go, but 4 was my favorite.
Oh, that's
fine. 4 is perfectly acceptable. Yeah.
2 and 4. Anything with Leon is basically the best.
Yeah. As long as
because he was in
6
what was
or
it?
7
6 was bad.
Yeah, but Chris is in that as well, so I was like, well, it's just a shit game.
Stay out of it, Chris. You're the reason these games suck.
Chris Redfield.
But going back to Silent Hill 2, I get nervous thinking about that game in its old graphics. Like a modern day remake of that would be fucking terrifying. I'll never forget, because I was really young when that game first came out. My brother would have played it a lot.
Walking through the fog and those guys skittering out from under the cars.
Like, because we had a demo of it years ago. You know when you used to get like demos for PlayStation, and Silent Hill 2 would let you play, I think, the section until you got to the hospital maybe. And I'll never forget like running through that mist. And it's like on those old graphics, I mean, sure, if you turn on now, the game probably looks like shit. But at that time, I couldn't stay in the room. Yeah. Like it was all that, like, my brother handing it to my other brother, like the controller handing it over me, like, I don't want to play this. But in like that is would you want that remastered or remade from the ground up?
I would want it remade.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, entirely new engine, new graphics. Keep a lot of the atmosphere and the story the same, but yeah, kind of like what they did with Resident Evil 2, where they took essentially the same setting, the same story and everything, and just new gameplay, better graphics.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
Getting on the horror buzz.
Another game that I think is inevitable and still on the horror kick, and I only say it's inevitable because System Shock 1 has been remade. It's releasing on May 30th. If we get the same treatment for System Shock 2, I'd be a very happy camper.
And so we're talking horror. I don't think I've ever played a System Shock.
Yeah, probably the original horror game on PC. It's like a first-person shooter, and the bad guy is Shodan. Have you ever heard Shodan? Like this big AI-looking thing.
No.
Yeah, it's a cult classic.
And you're expecting it to follow suit.
Yes,
with the first one.
Yes, I mean it has to, because System Shock 2 was fairly arguably the better one. I don't even think there is an argument. It was just strictly a better one. So I think they're making System Shock 1. Probably going to be based on sales and stuff, but if those come in and that gets the good reviews, then they'll move on immediately and remake the second. So
Nice.
Pretty stoked for that.
I'm going to go for a bit of a strange one for myself. I mean, you guys are talking about some oldies, and mine is a PlayStation 4 generation game that I want to see remade.
Okay.
I want them to scrap Kingdom Hearts 3 because it sucked, and I want them to remake that shit. I'll start with the funny one. You know, if you guys know that I'm a big fan of Soaring Kingdom Hearts, and I waited fucking 12 years, 13 years for that game. And I think in those times, Tetsuya Nomura just went insane and created just a really, I wouldn't say really bad, but I mean, because the thing about it was I played through it and I enjoyed it, and I like some of it. But I think it was more of a flex by Nomura to say, oh, I got all the Pixar things. We're doing Monsters Inc. We're doing Toy Story. We're hitting all the big leagues. And then all the Final Fantasy characters just took a complete step back, which was a major problem for me because the joy of that game was Kingdom Hearts 1 and walking out to have Squall, or Leon as he was called, being the guy who trains you to use the Keyblade, you know? And I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. And I'm fucking Donald Duck's with me. I mean, it was mind-blowing at the time, but he just kept stepping further and further away from that. So that if I could have any game remade, because I don't want that shit remastered, remake it. I don't want that game. Give me a different version of that game. Just to have it to be coherent, a bit more coherent. A bit less self-servicey.
Yeah, that storyline will probably never end. It will just continuously go until he either dies or just, sells the rights to someone else who will just refresh it.
Well, the storyline never has to end because it's all nonsense anyways. Piecing it together is just fucking random.
Yeah. I mean, watching videos on YouTube of people trying to... I mean, I am such a fan of the series. I'll always prop it up. But I know their narrative is absolute hot trash. Do you know what I mean? And it's so messy. It's just so messy. But it's not that I want 3 to come back and just be coherent. I just want it to go back to some of the magic that the first game had, which was that real mix of Square Enix Disney characters, or Pixar in this case as well.
The first one? I thought the second, I only played the first 2, but I thought the second one was superior.
Kingdom Hearts 2 is if you were to give me my top games ever, Kingdom Hearts 2 I think is one of the greatest games ever made. I think from a gameplay, never mind that I'm a big fan of the story, the characters, Disney and Square Enix and all that jazz. But pretty from a gameplay perspective, it's one of the best balanced games I've ever played. But what I mean to say is there was a certain magic about Kingdom Hearts 1. Playing it now, it's real clunky and it's definitely an old PlayStation 2 game, but there was a real magic about that game, going to those worlds for the first time, heading off to the deep jungle and having to swap out Goofy or Donald, have Tarzan on your team, and then you go back to Traverse Town and talk to Aerith and Yuffie and see it about where to go next. I was like, this is blowing my fucking mind as a 12-year-old or 11-year-old kid, being like, wow.
Getting to do the challenges in the Coliseum, fighting both Squall and Cloud. I was like, oh my god, and this is amazing.
That bit where Cloud walks into the Coliseum, and it's a pity because Advent Children came out between Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 2, and they wanted to change the design of the Final Fantasy 7 characters, which I respect, but Cloud's design in Kingdom Hearts 1 was amazing.
I loved it. He has the bandages on his sword and stuff.
And the wing and the gold gauntlet. It was like a mashup of Vincent and Cloud in one. It was such a cool look. But that's what I mean. They stepped so far away from that kind of stuff as the games went on, to the point of Kingdom Hearts 3 was just fucking... I'm not going to say awful because I really enjoyed it, but there was part of it that was just missing. So yeah, my weird choice is to remake that. I mean, I know it only came out like 3 years ago, but remake that shit. Like, give me another one. I don't want that game that you gave me.
You know what was my favorite part about the Kingdom Hearts series, actually?
Yeah.
Was every world you went to, you had like different costumes on, or you'd be like a different creature
Yeah,
or something.
You'd be like a fish in the aerial world.
Yeah.
Nightmare Before
fucking
Christmas,
loved
everyone
it.
dressed up scary and all that type of stuff. Yeah.
So good.
Oh, yeah.
It was brilliant. But yeah, that'd be my wacky choice. But Colin, we'll come back to you because I know you've got quite a few things to get through.
So I still have a couple, and funnily enough, one of them, in a technical sense, has already been remade, and we've already talked about it briefly. The game is on the SNES, and it's the original Harvest Moon, or the original Story of Seasons, I think they might be called.
Okay.
That's what they're called in Japan, and over here it's Harvest Moon.
The old farming simulator.
I had it back in the day, and I loved that game. Like, there were so many things to it, and like the absolute spiritual successor of this game, without being a real remake, is Stardew Valley. I was looking at a documentary talking about the guy who made Stardew Valley, and basically when he started this, he was just looking to get experience developing like games in general. He was taking over the art, like we've spoken about before, but he did every element of it, like the gaming, the programming, all this kind of stuff. So like in terms of that, like super creative and amazing kind of guy. But when he was starting this out, it was just a clone of of Harvest Moon.
Yeah.
He just wanted to recreate it to give himself some experience. And as he was developing the game, he just started being like, you know what, if like I just extend this or flesh this out to something here. So like just him going back to an old game, like a beloved game, like Harvest Moon, I'm going to keep doing that. And then doing his own kind of like homage to it, that turned into a massive hit for an indie developer, like the biggest hit you could ever imagine.
And I think his that it being such a hit, because I'm playing it currently like you are right now, it's hitting me hard. Like, he's very talented as an individual, because I think he did the music for it as well. I think
he did every aspect of the game, as far as I know.
And the music is a huge part of it as well. And it's the thing I loved about the Harvest Moon games. The only one I played, there was a Harvest Moon for the Nintendo DS, I think.
Yeah, there's loads of them.
Yeah, and I think that was my
good.
only one. But yeah, you can see similarities. And again, it's that really relaxing. So would you like it to, like, I mean, we're talking remake or remaster. Do you want to remake in like modern day graphics? How do you see that game looking?
I like the pixelated graphics over the top view. I don't think like they've done it like in the later Harvest Moon games and Story of Seasons or whatever they are. Like, they take that 3D approach and they try to make everything look fully 3D and everything, but there's so much charm to an over the top view and just cute pixelated kind of like colors and everything like that. Like Stardew Valley, even little things like it might be all pixelated, but then when the like wind blows and the leaves get blown across the screen, like little moments like that, you're just like, and
you see a rabbit jumping out of a bush and running over to the next bush, all those little things, and in such a wonderfully crafted.
That's
like,
it. Yeah. So that's what I mean by saying I'd love that game to be remade, but in a spiritual sense, like Stardew Valley is the remake of it. So I'm like 100% kind of like, right, we don't need to talk about this too much because it has at least a successor. It's just not within the same
Did
name.
Harvest Moon have a combat aspect to it? I can't remember.
No, it didn't. And the guy who originally developed it wanted an RPG, but there was no focus on combat at all.
Yeah.
So that's how he came with the original idea for Harvest Moon. And then obviously when what's his name? Not Chucklefish, Concerned Ape.
Yeah.
And Concerned Ape basically started doing it. He was like, well, I could just add another element into it, which is what Rune Factory had done in the past. They were like Harvest Moon, but they introduced caves and like monsters and stuff like that. So very much so, Stardew Valley took the best of two different, like, they're the same IP, they're both within the same developer, but took them and made them better. So 100% loved that, big fan. Moving on, but still staying on the SNES, biggest one, and I know there's going to be a lot of people out there that are like pulling for this, because as far as I know, it's been talked about for a very long time, but no action's ever been made towards it, and that is to remake or remaster Chrono Trigger.
Chrono Trigger? Yeah. Is that a... No, Xenoblade and Chrono Trigger are two entirely different things.
Xenoblade is on the Wii, yeah. So Chrono Trigger is an RPG from the SNES days. One of
arguably the best RPG of all time.
100%.
Wow, a lot of people claim so.
For the time it came out as well, it's like got multiple endings, and the sequence in which you do events are totally up to you and your playthrough. So you could play it once and go to this location first, and if you go to a different location next playthrough and do different decisions, like that absolutely affects your ending.
And we're talking about the Super Nintendo here, so we're pixelated RPG
still
style.
Pixelated, very much still over the top.
Banging soundtrack.
Yeah,
probably one of the best.
Oh, just there's so much charm behind that game. Little things like at the beginning of the game, like this woman runs up to you and you're in a like a market, and she's like, oh, somebody's chasing me, can you hold this for me? And then you can say yes or no, and you're like, oh well, like usually these never have any significance. And if you say yes, then you just go off and you just have this item, it's whatever. But then like in an hour's time, you end up in court and somebody's accusing you of having robbed this woman, and as proof you are in possession of that item that she gave you, you know, but the courts change things around and try to get you in prison.
It's such a great idea for like, in terms of for replayability alone. Yeah. That's such a great idea. Mm-hmm. But modern games don't really, like modern day RPGs don't really
they have like
the consequences.
3 endings usually. They have like a good ending, a bad ending, and then like you didn't do much. Like Red Dead Redemption, you don't too?
Yes.
So you usually get like a few endings, but this had like 10 endings at least, and some of them are really cool. Like one of them is, you know, like how at the beginning of Final Fantasy VII, the main villain is like the president of Shinra, and then afterwards it becomes Sephiroth and so on. In this game, the main villain at the start of the game, before the real villain is revealed, like you're on this mission, and when you fight and defeat him, you have the option to spare him or kill him. And like because he's like the main villain, you're like, of course I'm gonna have to defeat this guy, he's gonna screw me over. But then in the playthrough, if you have like the correct character with you and you spare his life, he will then join your party and be like a joinable like force. It's just like
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And it's you can sense there's a different kind of passion put into a game like that. Now I know it's easier to do those to have those in games where we're talking about pixel graphics. We're not talking about the modern day RPGs like the Final Fantasy VII remake or anything like that. That's you're talking about most of the work is going into this idea of just making it look amazing and play amazing. But it's something I really miss about the idea of your, you know, like we talk about Mass Effect as another kind of more modern day example where your choices actually, because it's a role-playing game. So I think to have the best kind of role-playing game, your choices should matter as opposed to just...
And Mass Effect 2 did that the best of any game. Like the whole lead up to the end mission in Mass Effect 2, your relationships and everything being taken into account as to how things will go down is just... in terms of game immersion, one of the best, you know?
Do you mind if I use this Mass Effect as a segue into another one of my choices?
Yeah, do it.
It's a very simple segue. My choice is Mass Effect. But it's interesting because it has very recently been remastered. Yeah. The trilogy's been remastered. The reason I chose it, and I chose it as a remake because we already have the remaster. It plays better. It looks slightly better. That's great. It gives us a way to play it today as opposed to having to go back and open up your PlayStation 3 or whatever we could play it on previously. But I look at BioWare as a company today and kind of how far the apple has fallen from the tree in that sense, that they're no longer what they used to be. Yeah. And I would love to get a modern day remake of that game.
Oh, done by what's their name? Blue something. The guys that made Demon Souls.
Like Blue Point?
Blue Point? Is that it?
And they did Shadow of the Colossus as well.
Yeah. Their whole thing is remakes, like good remakes.
And so, I mean, the Blue Point is great, but they don't update. That was the problem with Shadow of the Colossus. Shadow of the Colossus looked amazing when they remade that game, but they never touched the game. Like Blue Point just touch up how the game looks. Like Shadow of the Colossus, unfortunately, still played like a fucking horrible PS2 game. It was really clunky. But I'd love to see kind of the old team of BioWare come back and delve into kind of more of the lore in that game and really because the voice acting was good then, but like remake it, get more people back in, get a great voice actor in for Shepard again, and just give me like the Final Fantasy VII remake of Mass Effect and have the whole trilogy there. I would just be... And it doesn't need to happen. That's kind of more of a real high wish list for me. But I would love to see that game and dipping into... Because we talked about it in a previous episode, Chris. We talked about lore, like the importance of lore in video games. For me, Mass Effect is one of those things that does... There was so much lore that was never... You could read... pick up the discs about the hollow things, but you never went near any. Like it was just cool little filler bits. But I was like, oh, there's so much to touch upon and all that. Like if you were to go for a full remake, and I think it could really bring BioWare back up to a standard that they should be at, because they made fucking unbelievable games, and unfortunately,
that
just kind
era of BioWare were untouchable in the game industry.
Yes.
Like they had Knights of the Old Republic. Straight away, they followed that up with Jade Empire. They went down the Mass Effect route.
Yeah.
What else did they have their hands in? BioWare. They came, like, the people that went on to form BioWare were previously, like, Black Isle Studios, like the people who did, like, Baldur's Gate and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, like, all these really talented people went on. And then when BioWare eventually did close down, I think, did EA own BioWare by the time of Mass Effect 3?
Good question. I'm not sure.
Someone can Google that at home and let us know.
If you know, email us at thegiftedgamingpodcast@gmail.com. You're really good at letting me fit in these
plug.
plugs. Yeah, Colin's really good.
It only took you half an hour this time.
But so I think I definitely love to see a remake of that. We have the remaster, which is fantastic, but a remake where you really just delve into that world, because it's one of the most fascinating sci-fi worlds out there, and I mean across all mediums. I don't just mean in video games. I mean when I talk about like the likes of the Stargates, the Star Wars, any of that kind of stuff. That's my favorite.
Listen, if you ever want to talk about games that would make like amazing films, I'd say Mass Effect has great potential. Like
to
even
be
just
like a
that
great
first
TV
one,
series
with like Saren as your villain, and then like the end it reveals no spoilers, but this game's been out for like nearly 20 years.
Yeah,
so,
if you haven't played it. But so that was more of a wish list one for me. Chris, we'll go back to you, because I think you've got one that myself and Colin can definitely get on board with.
So the one that I've wanted, and I know I'm not alone in the world with this, the one I've wanted for ages, because I don't think it gets the clout it deserves, is another RPG that's arguably the greatest of all time, and probably my number one favorite game of all time, which is Final Fantasy VI.
Nice. Ooh. Nice.
It needs to be done. I understand why 7 gets all the attention, because it brought a lot of people into the franchise. It was the first transition into 3D. So I understand that, and I loved it too. I even enjoyed the remake, despite some of the changes I didn't quite agree with. But they're kind of just beating that franchise down. Like they kept releasing like spin-off games that were just awful, like Dirge Cerberus.
Oh, gotcha.
And, like,
mobile shooters and stuff.
Yeah,
like.
they just need to stop and go back to some of their older games that are like classics and remake. And I want to see Final Fantasy VI remade, but not in the same style that 7 was done.
What would you? I mean, if you could compare it to another game that exists today in terms of how it looks or how it plays, what way would you like to see 60 or 6 reborn?
Like a combination of things. Like I want it to be no longer like a top-down fixed like static camera. I'd want it to be a graphical update where it's like kind of third person over the character, so you can actually run through the town of Narsh and just see it in all its glory, like on the ground.
One thing that the Final Fantasy genre keeps on stepping away from, and I don't like it, is like the ability to truly have an open world, like when
an airship,
and just drive around and be cool and do whatever you want. Like exactly. This fast travel just to give you a better 3D environment. I don't like that. Like especially in 7, it's like you go from this area to this area, you go through a checkpoint. And it's very linear pathways.
And we can tell now by how, with the way that they're doing that, we're not going to get a true open world. I think it's been classified with the trailers they have for Rebirth. They've said open areas as opposed to an open world.
With 6 though, I don't think they could get away with that, because a big part of that game is like, I don't know if, spoiler alert, like the whole world changes halfway through that game.
Yeah.
And a part of the enjoyment is flying around the new world.
Absolutely.
And you find these towns and stuff that are in different areas of the world, and you're just like, oh shit, how did this end up here? And we're like, where did this cavern or cave come from? And
you also have to find all your missing party members, which is really fun, because you go into a town and you hear some NPCs chatting, and they're just kind of like, I heard that place is so dangerous, but some treasure hunter has gone in looking for it, and it's just throwaway comments, but you're like, treasure hunter,
I know a treasure
I know
hunter.
one of them.
And so if you could compare, or you could give an example of a game in terms of art styles, you're talking over the shoulder, kind of behind the character as they run. Do you want it to kind of look like modern day graphics? Do you still want it to have the more kind of fantasy?
Modern day. I want to see full 3D models of some of these characters. Updated battle system. Well, not too updated. I'm thinking maybe like what they had around 10.
Yeah.
With
10 with
the more
Switch
active
out members and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
Like,
because I think, 7 has kind of, it was very clever in the remake what they did in terms of having the active. You could choose one of two modes, two ways to play it, where it still felt like a bit like a turn-based game, but also had that modern day, spin on it. But I think 10 is a great example. I any kind of modern RPG that came out today, if it played like 10, I'd still be mad about it. Absolutely. Because that idea of seeing the turn and how it's going to work and the moves that you can do to change that to your advantage was a great way to kind of expand on what was becoming a bit of a stale the turn-based kind of combat thing was getting a bit stale up to
Yeah.
that point. Yeah, 6 would be amazing, and it'll be a great game to have, like, with voice acting, like cutscenes, like to really.
Oh my God, the final fight would be amazing. I want to see it more of like a gauntlet than what it was, but
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The main villain, we won't go into names, but the main villain of Final Fantasy VI reminds me so much of, do you remember Hedgar in Final Fantasy VII?
Yes.
He always had that stupid laugh and stuff like that, like the
The leaning back and doing the laugh.
like,
Yeah.
I would love, do you know, like when in Final Fantasy VI, like you see everything in top-down pixelated graphics, but then when you look at like the profile of the characters, they have detailed
it's the
pictures.
old school like concept art. Of the
and I
characters.
love that kind of stuff. So if there was some kind of hybrid where they could kind of maybe keep some pixelated stuff, but then through cutscenes, through profiles and stuff, just have that really sweet looking, like when you go into combat, it just changes up on you.
Yeah.
Like I think I'd be happy with a remaster, but it would definitely need like a nice polish to
They
it.
are
I wouldn't even mind if they just dropped the idea of voice, like voiceovers,
Yeah.
because
You wouldn't want them?
sometimes.
Yeah.
And they've been doing well lately, but like in the past, Final Fantasy's
I
kind of
think,
dropped the ball with that.
and this isn't me kind of shunning like English voice actors, and what I mean by English, I mean like English from England. That when I played like Final Fantasy 14, the team behind that, and it looks like they've brought in similar voice actors for Final Fantasy 16 as well. That ye old English kind of voice acting doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah,
I find that to be quite painful at times, like, and it's very much overdone. And
Are we talking like similar to Balthier from 12? Because
No.
I loved Balthier.
Oh, I hated
but
that.
he
Yeah.
was.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan.
But I loved Balthier in that game as well, because he was the only kind of one like that, and he stuck out. He stuck out as the real pompous kind of guy because he had that.
okay.
Whereas if you kind of play through 14, everyone's like, "Ye old English," and like hoity-toity, and all that, and it just doesn't. Like when everybody's like that, it kind of becomes a bit painful. Now the Japanese voice acting for all those games was amazing, but I think for 6 in that kind of steampunky place that it is, I would fear that the likes of that English voice acting, ye old English voice acting, would not do it any justice whatsoever.
And I don't think it'd be like that because of the setting and just like the returners. I couldn't imagine them having like English accents.
Yeah, it'd be you'd have to put some thought into it. But that's a great shout. Yeah, Final Fantasy 6.
Seeing Magic Tech armor, just like being able to walk around it and 3D.
And it's an interesting thing, because that Magic Tech armor actually existed in Final Fantasy 14. So when you play that becomes like a mount that you can get later on in the game.
Dope.
Now
Okay.
it's their own little spin on it. It doesn't look
Yeah.
exactly like the ones in 6, but like there's seeing that kind of stuff. You know, when I was playing through 14, I was like, God, a 3D, like a remodeled 3D version of 6 would be pretty sick. You know, like they had these little homages to it in 14. It was great.
I just thought of a really small detail, like a nice little fact for people that are interested in these topics as well. Final Fantasy VI, when they were developing the game halfway through or toward the end, they just couldn't get anything more in, but there was an entire set of characters that were meant to be introduced. They never were, but they were introduced in Final Fantasy VII as the Turks.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So they're original. They're like, so Reno, Rude.
Yeah,
Elena,
maybe not every single one of them,
but-
but like Tashing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they were all initially supposed to be in 6, but then just through like having no more space or anything like that, they just had to push them forward, and they were included as like a little kind of, like, in fairness, I think their part in 7 is pretty big, you know, like the Turks
Yes.
are always in the background, but he had developed these characters to be like a staple of 6, so because he couldn't use them, he wanted them inputted somewhere else.
Nice.
And they found a place in 7.
Well, you heard it here first, I
Yeah.
assume. Like, you know,
Unless
an
you heard
exclusive,
that-
a
heard
world
that shit
exclusive.
before. Yeah.
Colin, have you got any other things? You were kind of still hitting Nintendo last time we spoke.
We can say on Nintendo, absolutely. N64. I had the N64 growing up when I was like, whatever year that came out, 98 or 97. So like I was about 6 or 7 at that age. I got to play lots of games, and I have a few that I would love to see a remaster of. Did you guys have an N64 per chance?
I
Absolutely.
didn't own one, but my brother's friend always loaned it to us.
Lovely. Okay, so first one I would love to see, and I've never seen anything about it since, but have you ever heard of Jet Force Gemini?
Oh
Yeah.
my God!
Yeah.
I think
What a game, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was funny. We were talking about I don't know if it was multiplayer games or something like that in one of our early episodes in the podcast, and I brought it up. Your brother was here, and we were talking about Nintendo 64 games, and I was saying Jet Force Gemini, and I actually, before we went on to do the episode, I was like, God, I remember like loving that game. And I went on to see because how I played it was, I was at an age when that game came out when I was really curious to explore maps that you were in, like the multiplayer maps, to take all of it in. And in my memory, it was like these amazing big maps you could run around. And I saw these videos of people, like, watching on YouTube, people playing these multiplayer maps. I'm like, that shit was fucking tiny.
Yeah.
But like the style was amazing.
And there were so many cool things about it. Like, so when I was growing up, like that was one of the first proper co-op games we had, bar like GoldenEye or Mario Kart. But you could co-op the campaign in that game. And what was really fun, it was like one of those games like Lilac Wars. If you were playing, like, you'd need the player one, that was Fox in Lilac Wars. But if you didn't want to be Peppy or Slippy and you plugged straight into like port number 4, you could cut straight to Falco and not have to deal with that stuff.
Yeah.
And it was the same in Jet Force Gemini, whereas you had player 1 who was the guy, you had the girl as player 2, but you had the dog who had like a hover machine on its back and it could fly around. So I'd always skip to port number 3 and Craig would be, my brother would be like player 1 character, the guy, and I'd be this dog hovering over everybody, shooting lasers. Like, this is the best game ever.
Yeah, it had I don't know why it had that effect on me, but I remember even looking at the footage of people playing the multiplayer game, the animation of them, their movement was really, like, I felt like ahead of its time. Like, watching it now, I'm like, they move in such a, like, not necessarily a unique way, but like a very stylized kind of way that I thought was really, like, as a kid, I was hooked on the movement and everything in that game. Yeah, that'd be a fantastic. I don't remember much of the campaign. I only ever really played multiplayer with my brothers.
But just like that, it was just super fun to play growing up. As an N64 kind of tribute and stuff, it was like, there's a few N64 games that like I haven't touched on. Like, a few of them are really well known, like, like GoldenEye and Perfect Dark and stuff. I don't even want to see a remake of them because GoldenEye was kind of done. Perfect Dark could be fun, but
GoldenEye was just remastered
with Daniel Craig as the face of
no, like the original GoldenEye is now out on both Switch and Xbox also has like online capability with it. Like, it was just remade,
and unfortunately
not remade.
Did they fix Oddjob in multiplayer?
They just implemented a no Oddjob rule. No, I have no idea actually.
But I think going that, like, you're right with the idea of a game so perfect as Perfect Dark, lol. That they shouldn't touch it, but unfortunately they did with Xbox. They had Perfect Dark. I can't remember
Zero,
what the actual one.
wasn't
Perfect
it?
Dark Zero. That's what it was, and that was awful. Well, not awful, but it saved, or it had none of the character or flavor or atmosphere that the original Perfect Dark had. And I think Perfect Dark.
Well, that's Rare, wasn't it? And Rare were absolutely just went AWOL. Like, they were doing amazing games with Nintendo, and then they went over to Microsoft and they just started remastering stuff and just like losing their.
And the post show today, for those who are interested, get onto patreon.com/The Gift of Gaming. We're going to talk about, like, games that, like, shouldn't be remastered, and the opposite to what this topic is. But on that point, Perfect Dark is one of those things that I would say it should never be touched. Like, what it was in Nintendo 64 is what it should always be forever. It's one of those games that I think, no, that was perfect. Leave it the hell alone, Yeah, that'd be a good one. So Nintendo 64, like, have you got anything past that?
On N64. Okay. There's another game. It's quite an obscure one, but it's by, what are they called? DMA Designs, I think they were called. So DMA are the precursor to Rockstar.
Oh, so okay. So we're getting serious now.
Yeah. So this game is called Body Harvest. Does that ring a bell?
Oh, your brother talks at length about this.
Really?
Yeah, Craig had.
I think he's been on this show talking about
Body Harvest. Yeah.
Well, look, it's a great game, and look, in the future, there's multiple like games that I used to turn on just but before the internet was so popular, before you had to like dial-up modems and shit.
Yeah.
Like, I would have stuck on a handful of games, and Body Harvest intro alone was just one of the coolest things ever. But then when you actually get into the game itself, it's basically Grand Theft Auto during an alien invasion, and it's like a 3D like it's a 3D game. You run along, you can do quests in any order that you want to do. You can rob cars, you can go into houses, get keys to cars that are locked, and there's these bug invasions like Starship Troopers if all the aliens came to Earth.
Yeah.
And you just get these warning signals that there's like aliens coming in. You go to the local town and loads of massive bugs come in and just start destroying things.
And there was something you're saying this was 3D, so it's probably not like the likes of GTA 1 and 2. But
no, they're top down.
They're top down.
They were great.
But at that time, in kind of Rockstar's, they had a way of creating just incredibly fun games. Like GTA 1 and 2, although they were top down, they didn't look fantastic. They were hella fun.
Yeah.
Like I almost love them more than I love GTA 3 or
Oh,
or
absolutely.
Vice City. Like
Grand Theft Auto 2, like the top-down one, was
amazing. I had that as well. I got Tekken 3 and Grand Theft Auto 2 for Christmas with a PlayStation. Grand Theft Auto 2, it was just so fun. Like, you just be around with a load of friends and you just literally play, just drive over as many people as you can, get the cops after you, see how long you can get, and then when you die, you just pass the controller.
I don't think I ever played it a different way.
Yeah.
Like, I know there's like quests
if you
and
answer
stuff.
the telephones and stuff, which you would do by accident sometimes, like, I'm not doing that.
And it was, the way I loved it was because I think you had bars up at the top left of the screen in those games that would be like, are you friends with the Triads? Are you friends with you know, the Hells Angels, whatever it was? And I loved that situation because if I was really good mates with the Triads, you'd go to like whatever Chinatown was in GTA 2 and you could see those little top down, you know, whatever way the people looked, it was like two arms and a head, and they just like lots of people boxing the head off each other, and you'd go in with your like your baseball bat, and it was just like they were just lots of fun. And like I said, your brother with regards to Body Harvest, like he just said that was just the most fun. Like
I think it was his Christmas game.
He picked it for he did pick it for the Christmas game back like early days.
Christmas themed game, or
we talked
favorite game to play at Christmas.
Yes,
we
were.
You picked Body Harvest.
Yeah,
that's outrageous.
I think that was the episode.
I don't understand.
So crazy. Where's the festive spirit? So we're kind of. I don't want to go over too much. Could
I quickly throw in one more N64 game?
Of course.
Conker's Bad Fur Day. Yeah. Absolutely amazing game. Yeah. Unfortunately, like Perfect Dark Zero, it got a remake that wasn't as good. They filtered a lot of the stuff out. But like, if they remade that, like they could remaster it, but all the references are so pop culture dated to that effect. Like you have Saving Private Ryan, you have like, I don't know, a vampire kind of house. You have The Matrix, you know, like
a modern day version that would be like if they were to do it, like to remake it, I'd rather they just brought out a full blown sequel and like put in stuff like John Wick instead of, you know, Matrix, other kinds of pop culture movies that are like more modern.
This is remind me. Did you ever play a game called Gex?
Oh, Gex.
Yeah. It was all just like campy pop culture references.
I saw the donkey video. I'm with it.
Because my brother's old PlayStation name, you know, when you played old games in the early days, you can only ever put in 3 or 4 letters.
Yeah.
His one was Gex. Because we used to play Gex and Gex 2 all the time because he's like the secret agent lizard? Gecko?
Yeah.
I would have been Bum. Only got 3. Your initials, Bum, Ass, they're all good.
Yeah, Pooh, it all fits. Chris, do you have any other ones you think are honorable mentions that you'd like to go into before I hit on to, I think probably one of my most
Not really.
great?
Well, one I kind of came up with on the spot when you were talking about Star Wars, but Star Wars Shadows of the Empire for N64.
Oh yeah, that was really
cool.
hard, man. That was such a hard N64 as well, was it?
Yeah.
Very good.
That'd be a cool one to see. But
hard. You played as Han Solo, didn't you?
No, you played as like Kirkland Han Solo. Like budget. Dash Rendar was his name.
Dash Rendar. Sorry,
We couldn't get the license to Harrison Ford's likeness, so this guy's he's a Han Solo inverted commas. My one is, it's kind of I've got a couple here, but I think one of the ones I think would be important for me as a remake, and it goes back to that Kingdom Hearts sentiment that I had, where it was a great game, but it could have been better. Final Fantasy 8. So you talked about 6, I'm talking about 8. And
they need a remake there.
Funny enough about the Final Fantasy games, that the only one that there's any rumours about is Final Fantasy 9 as a full-blown remake.
I'm much more on board with that than 8.
So the reason I want them to do with 8, and it's kind of like a fault of my own, is I've always said when I was growing up as a kid that it was my favourite Final Fantasy game by a long shot. I think I had such fond memories of Triple Triad, the card game in it. I loved
the graphic improvement to 7.
Yes, and like the characters falling around, and like the music, like the Balam Garden fight, the missiles being launched into space, and
running away from the spider was a cool scene.
And like it definitely took a cinematic step up from Final Fantasy 7 in terms of what it was trying to do in game. And I used to tell everybody, Final Fantasy 8, I loved that was my favorite one, and people would be like, you're a fucking maniac.
The draw
and I was
system.
like, stupid people. But so this is the thing that people complain about the draw system, and it is really split. If you go online and check that out, I remember going on to Reddit and trying to figure out ways to kind of just cheat the draw system, like how you can make it really work for you. And I remember being on a thread, and it was really, really split with people saying it's one of the best Final Fantasy systems, and other people saying it's one of the worst, because I think you can just fudge it really easily. But I went back to say, I'm going to play Final Fantasy VIII and see why everybody's giving it such a hard time. And I platinumed it back on when you could get it for the PlayStation 3. You could download the PlayStation 1 version for the PlayStation 3. I played through it. And the ending of that game sucks so much. Yeah. It's awful. The idea that these characters who all meet each other randomly, we're all in an orphanage together at the very end, is so stupid.
I stopped. That's actually when I stopped. I was
that's
like,
stupid. That far into the game.
It's like, oh, this is so twisty. I'm like, no, it's just stupid.
Eddie is not the bad guy anymore. I was just like, what the fuck
He's been
happening?
possessed this whole time. Yeah. Everyone else forgot because they were using Guardian forces.
It's on par with like GF. I woke up and it was all a dream. Like that kind of like, retconning an entire thing. Because I was like, oh, playing through it, and I finished it and I platinumed it and I had a great time playing it. But as a story, as a narrative thing from a Final Fantasy perspective, I was like, nah. It's kind of dumb, but I'd love to see that remade, because you look at Final Fantasy VII in the remake, and they're certainly making a lot of things in the early parts of that game better in a way. Like I think of the bit where you climb the wall out of the marketplace in Final Fantasy VII, and that in the actual original game is you just putting some batteries in boxes and climbing the wall, and you're done. You're out. You're up to where you need to be. You're out of the slums. And in the remake, it was a huge section with like incredible music and a boss fight that was one of my favorite boss fights in the game. And I was like, wow, they're like expanding in such a great way. Where I think Final Fantasy VIII has the foundation to be an unbelievably good remake. Like take away all that fluff at the end and do it differently. But give me the Balam Garden fight. Do you know what I mean? Like that amazing thing where like Galbea is coming at you and Balam and all, you've got all the soldiers like attacking each other and everything. And I was like, man, there was some, and like Squall giving that speech on the intercom before the two gardens collide. I'm like, this stuff's so cool. But that would be one of my top one for a remake. But I don't think we're getting 6. I don't think we're getting 8. Rumor has it we're getting Final Fantasy IX remade.
Boo.
Colin, before we kind of finish up, you only got as far as Nintendo 64. Do you have any other kind of ones you want to throw out there?
Yeah, I have still got loads. But one of the biggest ones, and this is one that the reason I thought of this was because I just want this game to be remade.
Yeah.
The game is on the PS2, and it's Tenchu Wrath of Heaven.
Nice. Tenchu, just start making them again.
Yeah, but Wrath of Heaven, like for its time, PS2 or whatever, it had the best stealth mechanics ever. Like if you jumped off of a ledge or whatever, you would do a downward stealth kill. If you jumped off and like hit them from behind, the front or the side, the animation would be different. It was like Assassin's Creed, how they did their like whole counter system, but well before that. And like there were so many cool things. You had like grappling hooks, you had like items that you could like use decoys. Some of the animations were so grisly. Like there was like you would sneak up behind them, pull a knife to the throat, and then you would just do like a kind of pirouette spin. Yeah. And as you did it, their head would just lop off, go up into the air, and blood would just spray up into the air.
It's funny because I was playing Ghost of Tsushima there recently, and the first thing that came into my head was like, wow, like this is kind of, I know it's like Tenchu, like it's not an open world game, but I was like, this is the style I'd love to see it in. Yeah. Like those kind of, because that's very cinematic. It's very like when you're there with the samurai sword, there's a lot of cool animations for moves that you're doing, and I was like, yeah, like all the Tenchu games would be amazing like that.
It is one of those games that if you ever just you don't have to play the game. It might be a bit dated now, but if you just watch the intro alone, like the music builds and creates this amazing kind of crescendo, kind of epic moment, and it just like when I like again like Metal Gear Solid 2, you turn that game on, just look at the intro, then turn it back off. Tenchu Wrath of Heaven, that intro is the shit. Like it is amazing. So I would love to see that be remade, because one, I mean, for its time and like still like the mechanics were amazing, could so easily be redone based on all the kind of like Assassin's Creeds that have been and have gone. So like they've got loads to work with in terms of new mechanics, but as a game itself, it needs a little love and tender care and just to be brought back into the world.
Because it was a game that I have really fond memories of playing when I was younger. Do you know what I mean? Like I played a lot of games when I was a kid, but there's only a few games that I remember really enjoying from start to finish, and Tenchu was absolutely up there with them. I'll give you one or two more. Pick your top 2 there that you think you want to see remastered or remade. And sorry, just with the likes of Tenchu, would you want to see that remastered, or do you want to see a full? You just want to see a remake, just a brand new fucking.
Yeah. A remaster wouldn't be good enough. Like like unless they wanted to just make it super fluid or something. But I think with the way things are now,
just remake it.
Yeah, 100%. A couple of other ones then. One of the big ones would have been Soul Reaver Legacy of Kain for the PlayStation 1.
So I never put it down here on a piece of paper, but I was only thinking about that. That is one of the coolest PlayStation 1 games ever.
So cool.
Ever.
You had the ability to like throw spears and impale monsters or like stake them into the ground.
And the voice acting in that game was like Raziel, like the
I can't believe you remembered his name. That's amazing.
Yeah, I think he's one of the it's funny because I remember going onto old threads, and I always bring it back to Smash Brothers, but I remember going onto old threads of like what people thought the next character was going to be way back when they first started announcing new characters, and loads of people had bring in Raziel, like he was unbelievable. I was like, he would have been a dope character for Smash Brothers back in the day. But yes, and that atmosphere in that game, one of the coolest ever. Like that real kind of goth.
We had the Shadow Realm, and then the real kind of like there was the underground where everything was spiritual and evil.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, excuse me. But yeah, Soul Reaver Legacy of Kain. Like even the animation, not for the music now, but if you just watch the intro of that, it's like it starts off with Raziel. He's like a vampire that developed wings, and the current ruler
Kain
is jealous, and he just like breaks his wings down
and tosses him into
the underworld, this spirally vortex of death. And then when he goes into it, like he looks so messed up and everything, and you're like, this is awesome.
Because that was, as a really young kid, I was like, I don't know if I should be playing this shit. Like this is so dark. Good, great choice. I thought about it, but never wrote it down. Fine choice.
Well, if that's such a good choice, maybe I get 2 more shouts. No, I do. I have. I'll talk about one more, but then there's a couple that I have always wanted a remake of, and they actually are coming out. Some of them, obviously, like Resident Evil 4, it's already out. All the Resident Evils, don't need to mention them. Knights of the Old Republic, that's coming out. I don't know when, but that's going to be remade or remastered.
That looks like
it's
remastered.
No.
I think it might be a.
I'd like a remake, but a remaster, I'll take what I guess.
Based on the trailer, the opening piece, but they say trailer, like the teaser thing that they had was like a Kylo Ren looking fella, with a lightsaber, and to me that looked like remake material. But that makes me very nervous. Yeah, because they're not the company that they were. You know, that's not like.
They could change some elements, but as long as they don't take away the impact of like certain reveals and whatnot within the game and stuff, and obviously a lot of people know them reveals, but it's still like to go in blind would be one of the greatest experiences. Like Star Wars always does that shit now, but for the time, like playing it on the Xbox, I think the original Xbox, just absolutely amazing. Another one then that I played on the Xbox, which was fucking brilliant, Fable.
Yes.
Now, Fable about 10 years ago, so this game's about 15, 20 years old. About 10 years ago, it got the anniversary edition, which was already a remake. So a remake on the Xbox 360 is not really the remake I want. I want a newer remake.
I want a modern day one. And that was kind of one of the earlier games. That's when I thought Xbox was cooler than PlayStation. The one and only time in my life where I thought Xbox was a cooler choice than PlayStation.
It just had such a great mechanic that every item on clothing that you put on, you would see. And then you could like pickpocket, you could rob from the shops. There was like a suit of armor. And I always remember seeing it and being like, I want that suit of armor. And I slowly just kept stealing pieces from the shop.
But it was because you had like the dark route or the light route in that game, which was my first experience of that kind of thing. Where so like, cool. And classic me, you know, up to the time I met Mass Effect, and wanted my character to be an asshole only because he looked like crap, and I was like, I've designed a terrible character in Mass Effect. But Fable, I played like, you know, and I got to the end of that game. I never owned an Xbox, but I got it off Luke, you know, and he gave me that in Fable. And I remember the end of the game being like, you know, almost max level, and my dude's just like glowing white as he walks around, like that most holiest dude. And I was like, that's a pretty cool mechanic. Like maybe I should get an Xbox.
I love it. Okay, I'll go for the last one. Honorable mention would have been The Simpsons Hit and Run, but we're going to bypass The Simpsons Hit and Run, despite it would have been pretty cool. Did you ever play on the PS2 The Bouncer?
Yeah, I did. I thought about putting that on the list. Such a bonkers story, man.
Amazing.
I don't even think I know the game.
You're these 3 characters that bounce at a bar, but like, and then somebody gets kidnapped, and then they're like off saving the. Yeah, the girl that works at the bar, and then they're off like saving the world. And I remember at the end, it was just like, I'm a bouncer. It's my job to protect people. And like he's beating up like gangs of like yakuzas.
It was such a great game. It was one of those as well that like you had the 3 characters, and all 3 of them would have their different routes. So if you played as like the main guy, Sion, you would go do this route. You go straight in the front door. If you played as Code, the like more martial arty guy, he'd be like, I'm not getting into a stupid fight. I'm going to go around the back, and I'm going to do the stealth option. And then you have the other guy, Volt, who's just this massive bruiser. And he's like, I'm going through the front door.
the window.
Yeah. So like just in terms of like the gameplay and everything was so fun, great co-op and everything like that. If it got the reworks, it'd be great. The story is like so cheesy and so ham, but it's just.
But sometimes you want that. Like I think
Yeah.
we talked
Oh, yeah,
about. We were sitting here talking about other games. I think Andrew brought it up in terms of multiplayer games that we enjoyed, and Urban Reign was one that he brought up, where the main dude's like all American hero Bradley Hawk, and sometimes though you just want that cheese.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just get on board and be like, yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I want. But nice. So you want a remake or remaster?
I guess it could be a remaster. I mean, it's not going to be a very good game, but
No,
like if you
no.
can make it fun to play, that's all that you would need.
Because everything else is there just to have a good time.
And essentially, all it is a 3D beat 'em up. So you think your Streets of Rage or your Double Dragon, it's like that, but it's just a 3D iteration of it. So you don't really need it to be great. You just want to sink in a couple hours just beating people's face, just mashing the A button.
Get some satisfaction from the hits that you give out, you know, like you get some crunches or some cool sweeps where they like flip them over, stand on them, whatever it might be.
The one guy had a spinny kick and you hit a bunch of people with it too.
Satisfying game.
Just a very fun game.
I can't believe I've actually met somebody else that has played it.
Oh, me and Craig and our cousins, when we were growing up, we used to like rent that from Xvision all the time.
You definitely didn't want to tell anyone you bought it. So it was a renter for sure.
Don't add that to your collection. You're gonna look like a punk. Yeah. Well, fellas, that was thank you for hopping on this episode of Remakes and Remasters. If to our listeners out there, you think that we missed anything that absolutely in the modern day should be remade or remastered, tweet us at Gift of Gaming Pod. There's no the. Email us at thegiftofgamingpodcast@gmail.com. Or if you want extra content, which we're about to make right now in our post show, hit up patreon.com/thegiftofgaming. Chris, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Colin, thank you so much.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you, Chris.
It's a pleasure. To our listeners, I hope you guys have a good day and keep enjoying the gift that is gaming. Peace out.